Dude, the color scheme on this bike is the best color scheme ever made. America. I think out of all the times, at least in my lifetime, to think about a budget build, it's now. The reason I always advocate for budget builds is because the used market for these vehicles is great. And I know talking about it, it seems to surge the market a little bit, at least a little bit. But I would say out of all the times in my lifetime and your lifetime, we've never seen so much volatility in the new car or even newer car market. It could be used, but newer cars. Manufacturing issues. For the aftermarket world of aftermarket parts, a lot of these companies are looking 2, 3, 5 years in advance in order to build the parts, get them CAD filed, spec'd, dialed in so they could bring them to market. They're ordering still years in advance for that influx. But did anybody anticipate the tariffs, the manufacturing woes, the political climate, all the import and export issues that we're having? Did anybody anticipate that you're going to see 20, 30, 50% markups on vehicles that have been sitting on the lot for years because of a pandemic? No, I don't think anybody anticipated that. So when you look at really the ability to buy a vehicle, build it out, and have a lot of fun, there's no more solid of a market and a space. I'm going to turn you on to a vehicle that I'm building out and bringing you along on the ride on not this guy behind me. This will be a separate project. This is my 84 Scrambler, but this little beauty, 86 Toyota 4Runner. This is one of my favorite generations of Toyotas, period. I think the Toyota 4Runner, the look and design of this from the onset was spot on. Now this particular model, the 86, the first gen of the Toyota 4Runner, I think is special because it is the breeding between a Trekker, it's right here, a Land Cruiser right here, and this is what you got. This is the baby that was conceived. This is like the first SUV that really had an impact on the market. All right, so first things first, depending on where you get this 4Runner at, it's going to be a rust bucket. I've seen rust migrate from here into the leaf springs, into the frame, and just eat it all up. Just like any used vehicle, you want to check the seams, making sure there's not rust in the seams. Obviously the floorboards or the pans, you're going to find a lot of rust in that area because water leaks down in here. In the back, because these had hard tops, if they leaked water down into these panels, and getting back here to see if there's rust against the interior wall is something that you might want to do as well. Always as a negotiating tactic for these vehicles, rust, as long as it's not crazy, because this is a body on frame, but rust in the normal spots, like right here, where you see water likely leaked down into here or it got into the wheel well, that's something I could deal with. Something else I look at in these vehicles, if it has oversized tires or suspension. Because a lot of guys like taking these rigs, especially the 85, a lot of guys hack these with trimming the fenders, trimming the rear fenders to fit 35s. I opted in 32 because you don't have to trim anything. It's close, but you don't have to trim it. If you find one that has a lot of trimming, a lot of cuts, a lot of welds on the bottom, my advice would be stay away from it. Unless you intend to turn it into a rock crawler, because it does have potential for that. All right, going off into the engine, really simple. It's a 22RE, fuel injected, really simple engine. Was this rebuilt? Did it have a replaced head gasket? These little things are going to determine the longevity you get out of these motors. These motors will last 1 million miles if you take care of them. The cool thing about this entire market is there's companies still making new OEM parts for this rig that are brand new, like engines that you could direct swap. So you buy a good body, it has a good interior, you could swap in a new engine or just rebuild it on your own, relatively inexpensive. Something else I look for is the interior parts. Some people, this will not bother, but for me, look, I don't want to have to deal with a whole bunch of plastic components and sourcing it on the used market. There's not a lot of companies making new interior components, period. I want to know that the heat works, the air, yeah, not a big deal, but at least the heat works. A lot of these parts, if they're present, will save you a lot of time. Nothing is worse to me than just having a really clean body and then the interior looks like crap. That's just personal preference. I'm okay with this. You know, that's not a big deal. But I also don't want this to be ripped up and out and then just have a stick shifter coming out of the carpet. Something else to be aware of, depending on where you go with this build, is these came with a hard top. You know, this is like the old Trekker. The Trekker had the hard top where they just took basically a Hilux pickup truck, put a cab on it, and then opened up the back end. That's essentially what we got here. A lot of these hard tops are worn out, damaged, because they are fiberglass, but they're super heavy, 400 pounds. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they're pretty heavy. So what I wanted to do was have one in good condition, because I intend to drive it in the wintertime and like the idea of having a clean hard top, but it's not a deal breaker. This is the canvas soft top I opted to go with. I'll show you guys that install next video. But again, you could use it as a point of negotiation, because this is cool to have, especially with working glass. On mine, you could even insert the key and the glass drops down. And a lot of these 4Runners, that doesn't work. And mine works, which is really cool. So having a good hard top is a good thing to have, but not having it isn't a deal breaker. Now, what am I going to do aftermarket wise? I'm going to walk you through that journey. I did it intake, a cold air intake. That actually helped let it breathe a little bit. So I did all the maintenance on this vehicle. I did add 32s, which is about as big as you want to go before you have to start trimming. And I don't need anything bigger than 32s. Plenty of clearance for me, and I'm happy with the steelies that are on it that are super old school and stock. One thing I always do with every rig that I have, especially in Utah, is I add a steel bumper with a loop. That's going to protect that grill, especially from deer and elk. They're right in my backyard. Moose are in my backyard as well. So I sourced an ARB bumper. Really good deal on the used market on these bumpers. They're all over the place. But ARB out of Australia is a really good company, and it has the loop already tied into it. I'm not even going to do a winch. I'll carry a come-along inside the rig because the vehicle itself is pretty light, and I don't intend to be anywhere where I'm going to get stuck. I'm not going to add a couple $1,000s with a high-end winch inside of a bumper when I'm doing a budget build. Now, the offset of these wheels do extend them a little bit. I wouldn't mind having more protection on the outside. There are a couple companies that make some good versions of this, and I will do a swing out rear carrier. Now, there's a lot of companies that make swing out carriers, but I want a lightweight version of it. I don't need a lot of steel back here. All right, so navigating kind of a camping setup. It's already got a wood panel right here, so I could do some stovetop cooking out of a Rubbermaid container. Nothing sexy, nothing high speed, but I love the fact that this vehicle allows you to lay down the seats and have plenty of room to do a sleep setup. So I'm probably just gonna do a roll mat and some basic necessities for camping by myself with my dirt bike. So a couple things. I have to get a hitch carrier to be able to carry a 200-pound dirt bike, which I'm gonna integrate into the bumper. I'll have my sleep set up here with Rubbermaid containers, just laying down the seats. I'll have a canvas soft top that's gonna be worked on top. I'm gonna work some type of rack system as well, just to carry extra crap, because there's not a lot of room for carrying my stuff inside of this vehicle, especially if I'm doing motorcycle stuff. Maybe like a rack that has a basket where I can carry a couple bags with my moto gear, and that's about it. The idea that these things are blown out of proportion, yeah, if you go and bring a trailer and you have 1,000 pictures of all the details and all the specifics of a 4Runner that's immaculate and how it was spec'd and built out, of course, guys. But if you go on Facebook Marketplace right now, I guarantee you, you'll find these readily available, and they come up all the time. Now, the reason I'm advocating for a build like this is because if you have the cash, the alternative Sequoia, Land Cruiser, 4Runner market are near 6 figures for a spec built out version of this. And that just blows my mind, because all in, sitting here at just 10 grand total, I can go out and have the raddest time with a vehicle that's capable of going off-road, of getting decent gas mileage, going off-road everywhere I need it to, and all the nostalgia of the 80s. But like the analog sensations, even the smell, even the crappy sound of listening to Bruce Springsteen on cassette. And I hope you're doing some kind of budget build. I'll keep you up to date on this build, because as I build it out, I'll show you how it turned out. Some of this equipment I've never installed, like this canvas soft top. It's very popular for 4Runners, but we'll see. I'll get it installed here shortly. So I'm tease you with this build a little bit. We got a big Carly build coming out with the Ram 3500. This is the mega cab. I'm most excited about this build. It's going to be sick. What are you doing? Especially with these guys. All right, guys, till next time. Peace out.